name is Mark Gads. I'm a heart failure survivor. Today is October 20. It's actually exactly a year from the time I was operated with LVAD. LVAD is the strap that you see here right now. In my other videos, I'll show you what it is. I'm not an expert educating you. I'm not a medical professional, but I will speak from my experience as a patient with LVAD and as a patient with heart failure. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, even when I was in the hospital, like more than a year ago. I wanted to be able to share what's happening to me for my own documentation purposes. So at least I know whether something's improving or something's getting worse, not just physically, but also mentally. Never got a chance to do that. So now, after a year, I'm strong enough. I got stronger with LVAD, but still I'm not fully fixed yet, because the final resolution to my problem is really heart transplant. And I am ready for it, and I've been in the process of getting re-enlisted, so it's just a matter of time now that I will get that call that there is an available heart that matches me, my blood type, and all the other criteria. So why do I want to do this? I just wanted to make use of the information and the experience that is happening to me day to day, document it, and maybe it might be a good information to other people undergoing the same situation, heart failure, other heart diseases, or other diseases. It really doesn't matter. A disease is a disease, especially if you are contracted with something end stage or stage 4. Things get difficult every day, but I thank God that there are solutions to my problem. There is LVAD and many other surgeries that I've undergone, and then now heart transplant. And I'm here in the US, where heart transplant and all of these surgeries are more routine as compared to when you are living in another country. So I thank God that I'm here and I'm getting those benefits from the United States and from science. I believe in science a lot. I believe in God. You'll hear a lot of references on my faith, my belief. I believe is very essential, and those are vital for me succeeding in my situation and getting through all the mental and the physical strain of a heart failure. It's a long journey. I was diagnosed in April 2022. I thought the medicine will be able to manage it, but it progressed so quickly that in September, it's supposed to be an outpatient consultation, but they asked me like, it's dangerous to send you back home, so you have to stay, get all the treatments now. That is September 20. And then fast forward, after 45 days, I was discharged of the hospital. When I got out, I have this LVAD already, this strap that you see here that I'm wearing. I'll show it to you and share some experiences of that. So yes, that's my intent. The information I have, the experiences. I always believe in experiences. The time you underwent something, whether it's work, it's a disease, it's a process, those are experiences. Those come in handy in the future. And that's what I don't want to waste. All of the experiences that I have, I want to document it. I'll take a video, I'll write it down, I'll put it on Facebook. It may be helpful for other people, whether mentally or physically. It doesn't matter. If there is at least one person that can get something good or informative out of my effort, I'll be happy. That's all my intent. I just want my heart to continue to beat. So I'm hoping all of the treatments and the heart transplant will come in soon, and I will be better and recover for a more permanent condition. I'll stop there. So I will time myself to 5 minutes to make sure that I don't overshare or over talk. And sometimes talking long is hard as well for myself physically. But I think this will be like 5-minute reflections, not every day, but when I have time and when there are like fresh things in my head that I want to share as part of the experience. My journey, this is what you will hear, my belief, and how I undergo day to day managing things, managing stress, managing anxiety, managing myself physically. And I thank God that I have enough support around me. My spouse is a nurse, my family is very supportive, my friends, they are all grounded in faith. I am surrounded by love. whether here in Chicago or in the Philippines or all my friends from other places in the world, that's a blessing. And I know now why those people are sent to me by God and why God brought me here to the US. Because something like this will happen. I don't have any of those. I'm not in the US. I don't have the science around me that are readily available to fix me. Then that might be it. But everything happens for a purpose. I will stop here. Enjoy listening to my future contents, whether it's images, video. My intent really is to document the journey and hopefully my journey in this heart failure. Going into heart transplant is a lifelong journey. It's not after I have heart transplant, I'm fully fixed and I'm good to go, like brand new. I will have a brand new heart, but the life is changed already. No, I cannot live like a 20-year-old anymore. Like drinking and partying, everything changed since this heart failure. And that's what I wanted to share as well. What has changed and how it changed me for the better. And at the same time, how I manage it day to day. That's all I can think for now. I can't think of like what will happen next year or in 5 years. All I can think is tomorrow. I just want to be alive. I just want my heart to continue to beat tomorrow. I open my eyes. I'm just grateful that I'm alive to wake up every day. That's what's happening in my mind every day. I'm just sending good vibes to whoever listening to this or who will follow my journey. Hopefully you will find use and strength and courage from the things you will hear from me. Sometimes I might be saying opinions that you might not agree or not believe, same as your belief. It is fine. I'm not here to convince. I'm not here to present some facts. Our belief system is relative to our upbringing, wherever you are, everything is relative. But I'm not pushing any agenda or any specific belief to you. I believe in God. Whatever you believe, I respect that. And that's all I wanted. Thank you and happy listening. Hello. So what happened? Just to give you a background, in April 2022, I was diagnosed with heart failure. The symptoms came up earlier, not just in April 2022. April is when I was rushed to the hospital by my spouse. We were traveling to Vancouver at that time, so we flew in Seattle, then we drove to Vancouver. Then when we got to Vancouver, I was bloated, water retention, the whole midsection. When I look at my back in the mirror, I couldn't recognize myself, to be honest. And I got scared, and my spouse got scared as well when he saw me when I removed my shirt in the hotel. So he decided, Mark, let's go back to the US because Canada, my insurance won't work, so we have to drive back the following day. It was supposed to be for Aki's spring break. We wanted to show him Canada and meet his cousins and family relatives there. So it was cut short for him. So we drove back to Seattle. And then in Seattle, MJ brought me to the ER. And then in the emergency department, I was telling doctors there that I've been having gastrointestinal problem for a month now, almost a month, that it never goes away. Every time I eat, it will come back. Flashback to a month before that. So in March, I think March 14, I flew to Orlando, Florida for HIMSS convention because I have a section in the Salesforce booth where I have like a 10-minute slot to share our products that we've been developing in Salesforce. So I flew there Monday, and then Tuesday after eating breakfast, I couldn't walk from my hotel room out going to the convention hall, and those are long walks, like 15-minute, 20-minute walk because the convention halls are big. That is the first struggle, the most difficult symptom that I have ever felt. I think I was full because I ate a lot in the morning, and then I was struggling to walk. It's like a really bad heartburn. So that's what it all felt at that time. And then I struggled to walk like 10 steps. I have to stop. I'm struggling to breathe. When I bend, there's pressure at the back of my head, and it's like a really bad heartburn. I feel pressure around my neck and at the back. and every 10 steps I stop. I have to finish what I'm intended to do there. Wednesday is my time slot to speak. So I was struggling the whole time I was there. I couldn't even walk around the convention to network and meet other people. But then I just wanted to get it done and I want to fly back home to Chicago. So from there, I thought it's just heartburn. It will go away at the end of the day. But then when I eat the next day, it comes back. So it just doesn't go away for that consecutive months until I felt the water retention. Actually, prior to that, there have been signs. January 3 of 2022, when I just fainted. Meeting in the morning, I fainted. And then I caused panic to my team because I was just gone from the screen. And then MJ, I was on the floor when MJ got to the room and he called 911 and I was rushed to the hospital. And the doctors didn't even bother to check my heart. They did EKG and I heard the EMT said that there's some abnormal rhythm that he noticed while I was being transported to the hospital. But the doctor just said it's just normal to most people. So they didn't bother doing extensive heart check. They did EKG and then there were like normal fluctuations. They sent me home in the same day. And then after that day, actually, I started noticing water retention. And I thought I was just eating very salty food, which is my Filipino normal diet. I enjoy eating. So I thought it's all that. And maybe some other supplements that I'm taking can cause water retention. So I have reason to everything that is happening to me with those simple signs until they progress. Fast forward to April 10 in Seattle, when they checked my heart, they did x-ray, my heart is bloated. It's like 3 times the size of a normal heart. And then when they checked the function of the left side of my heart, the left ventricle, the ejection fraction is only 15%. And then they told me, Mark, I'm sorry to tell you, the doctor said you have end-stage heart failure. Just like that. I felt like it's the end of the world. I'll share more details in the next video. From my last video, I was in the ER still at that time when the doctor dropped the bomb that I have end-stage heart failure. The end stage didn't ring a bell to me at that time. So I was more worried about what the hell is heart failure? That's how serious it is. It's not sinking into me that it's a very serious situation I'm in. I told the doctor, okay doc, we move our flight to the following day. So I wanted to fly to Chicago. And when we get to Chicago, I'll go directly to the ER and get seen there in Chicago. But then the cardiologist, there were 3 of them in the room at that time. The cardiologist said, I'm sorry to say, but you will not reach Chicago if we let you out right now. We need to address your condition first, like stabilize your body, because I was extremely bloated. My normal weight is 145. When they weigh me, I was checked in the ER, I was like 168. The big increase are all water. And I thought I'm treating heartburn. In the Philippines, I was taught by my grandparents that when you have heartburn, you just drink water, so you burp it out. I thought that's what I'm doing. I've been drinking and drinking water, but I didn't know that it's all accumulating in my body now. I have this diagram of the heart here. They gave it to me in Northwestern in the hospital as I was getting treated there, recovering from LVAD. So this is the heart, the left ventricle. So that is the one pumping blood out of the heart. So that is the 15%. In short, my heart is only able to pump 15% of the blood at one pump. The normal pump for a normal person is like 55 or 60. All my other organs are not getting enough oxygen-rich blood from the heart. Hence, my other organs are starting to fail. That's what happens with heart failure. It's not that your heart will stop first. It's the kidney, it's the liver, and the lungs. Those will be affected first because it's not getting enough blood. They will start failing as well. So heart, only then I realized how important heart is. Of course, every organ is important. It does its own function. That's why God has constructed us like this. It serves a purpose, especially the heart. It's very central to our life. So that really gives the life to all the organs in our body, to everything that makes us a human being. When they told me that, that's when it hits me. Am I going to die? That's the first thing that came up to my head. And then the other thing is, did I do enough in life to die this young? Have I done enough? So all of the questions about my situation, scientific questions, existential questions are just flooding in my head. I was spiraling down mentally, staring at the doctors and couldn't respond. Even my spouse, who is a nurse and he's used to that condition in the hospital, is still very surprised. When if it's someone related to you and that's happening, it's different from him caring for another sick person in the hospital for work. But I thank God that I have him beside me and I have the support with me. If I'm just alone in the hospital in that situation, I think I could have died. So fear, but thank God. So heart failure is really a serious condition. I didn't realize at that time end stage because I thought that there is still time. It was caught early enough that medicine can fix whatever is wrong with my heart. It can improve the ejection fraction after taking the medication. So I stayed in the hospital there in Bellevue, Washington for 7 days. And then when I got rid of the water, I am stronger and stable. That's when they agreed to discharge me so that I can fly back home to Chicago and then get seen in Chicago. But before I left the hospital, there is one agreement. They will not let me go out without a life vest. The life vest, I don't have it anymore. I returned it, but I have some pictures I'll share what life vest is. That's like a wearable defibrillator. So if there's like abnormal rhythm in the heart, something went wrong while I'm out of the hospital, if I'm wearing that, it will trigger and then it will defibrillate my heart. It's like what you see in the movie. Someone's almost dying and heart stop, they defibrillate with electricity. So that's the wearable version of that device. That's the life vest. I'll share a separate video about life vest. That's heart failure, that's ejection fraction, that's cardiomyopathy, which is enlargement of the heart. That's what they initially find in the x-ray. My heart is 3 times bigger. So the walls with thin as well, proportional to that. So the walls of my heart are 1/3 as thin. And then after that, I've undergone all the series of tests. So I'll reserve that, what happened in that 7 days and that series of tests while I was in the hospital. I'll stop till next video. The next many hours after my diagnosis, I had a lot of questions about why did this happen to me. I'm having difficulty comprehending because I've been doing everything I can daily to live and do healthy things like working out and running daily. And I wasn't a bad person. I've been helping my family for a long time. I know how to help my family and other people. I know how to care. It's hard for me to understand how all of these happened so suddenly and this early in my life. I'm in my early 40s. So for the next many hours in the hospital, I'm just trying to figure out why this happened. There must be a reason for all of these. I know God will not allow this to happen without a purpose. I have believed in God since I was small, and I still do now. I believe that nothing happens by accident. The why questions may be the one I will never get a clear answer to soon or ever. But I hope that someday, as long as God keeps me alive, I will get to know the answer. Since that time in April, this is still one of the top questions that come to my head. Of all the people in the US and the world, why does this have to happen to me? I was looking at the statistics for heart failure. There are about 6.2 million people in the US alone with heart failure currently. So it's just like 2%. One study projected to increase to 8 million in 2030. And then 1 out of 9 deaths in the US is because of heart failure. I don't want to think about death right now. But I'm part of the 2%. How lucky I am. I wish this were lotto and I won the $1 billion Powerball. I would be fine with that. But I got a jackpot of a disease. I keep thinking for so many years that I have so many stories already to tell, but I guess there will be more interesting stories in the future, starting with this. Yeah, there must be a reason, I know. God will not let this happen in vain. So one day, let me just tell you a story. While I was working and doing some online errands, I typically play something on TV. I'm just used to the white noise around me, which sometimes making me productive. But I wasn't really paying attention to what was playing most of the time. So one day, I was watching the 3rd season of The Chosen. It's a modern narration of the life of Jesus. It's a great show. It's just playing. And at one point, there's some noise, not from the TV, that caught my attention and directed my eyes to the TV screen. It's a convo between Jesus and James. Then for the next 6 minutes, I just found myself intently listening and watching with tears flowing down my eyes. It is a direct answer to my why questions. Since my diagnosis and then in the next 5 months before my condition advanced and required major surgeries in September, I have been praying so hard every night while also doing what the doctor is telling me to do. I followed every instruction to a T and took all the medicines. I was so positive that medications and changes in my lifestyle, like eating habits, started eating low sodium food and less stress from work, would stabilize my heart and I would never need the advanced surgeries. I was optimistic that science with a good positive attitude, a good spirit, and lots of prayers, everything would be under control and I would get back to normal life soon. But if your prayers and expectations do not happen, it is tough to stay positive. Then a simple question of why has mutated into a bigger why. Why did I not get better after doing all the right things? I'm starting to question God. And I've heard a lot of these stories in the past. Some amazing stories of people getting healed and many who did not. But something led me to this exact moment in front of my TV, giving me answers to all the why questions in my head directly. I will stitch the clip at the end of this so you can see the exact clip I'm referring to. I see myself in little James with so many questions and doubts. I believe that the Lord is not making it too easy for me because that wouldn't be a great story to tell. The better story is, despite the challenges and the worsening situation, despite the risk and fear and danger, despite physical hardships and pain, I can still stay positive and talk about the goodness of God. That is what I wanted to do now and onwards. I hope that God will give me many more years after the heart transplant so that I can continue the second chapter of my life with much more meaning, with much more love and care. I could have had a cardiac arrest for so long before my diagnosis, but that did not happen because there is a reason. It's becoming clear to my head what God's purpose and direction is. I've been grateful for so many years since I was a child because God has given me tons of blessings in so many ways. He has given me opportunities in school. I excelled in school, in my career, in my social life. He has blessed me with a good job. I have savings in the bank. I have a family back home and very supportive friends in the Philippines and here in Chicago. But whatever God has given, He can also take away. It is true that when you reach a point where you feel you're losing your life, none of the material things, your savings, your asset, your career really matter. All you will ever think is that you just want to be alive tomorrow. It is comforting to think that God will not take without reason. Despite losing my health and all the material things I have been striving to build, I still acknowledge that God is in control and He will remain good to me to the end. I stop here. I'm sharing the clip because it might speak to you the way it has spoken to me and touched me. Thank you. Pardon in advance to all the medical terminologies. I am no medical professional, but I just wanted to share based on my personal experience all the tests that were done on me when my spouse brought me to the hospital in Bellevue, Washington in April of 2022. The first thing they did in the ER was to perform a chest x-ray. I have been complaining about the heartburn and the shortness of breath. I was expecting that they will find something wrong in the lungs or in my GI, but the x-ray showed that my heart was distended. Surprise. Then the ER doctor started escalating my situation to the cardiologist. Then after a few minutes, they sent a point-of-care portable ultrasound, which also confirmed my enlarged heart. The ultrasound is called echocardiogram, which provides more measures of the ejection fraction and the atrial dilation. Then after a couple of hours, the blood test results came out and showed that my BNP was abnormally elevated. BNP is B-type natriuretic peptide. It is used as a marker for heart failure. So the higher the level, the more serious the condition is. And the standard value is between 100 and 400. And mine was more than 2,000. It's a terrifying number. There have been a few EKGs or electrocardiograms done while I was in the ER, and most of the results show sinus tachycardia with multiple PVCs or premature ventricular contraction. PVCs are the extra heartbeats that occur in the heart's lower chambers. When you feel like your heart is fluttering inside your chest, that's the feeling of having a PVC. It happens generally to everyone, but prolonged and intense occurrence of it indicates a problem. Then they started giving me diuretics to flush out all the excess water in my body. And my breathing has improved day after day because of the diuresis. And then on the next day, they sent me down again in the test labs to do an angiogram. The coronary angiogram checks for narrowed or blocked arteries in the heart, indicating coronary artery disease, which is one of the most common causes of heart failure. I think this is the first big test I have undergone in relation to heart. And I was scared and I didn't know what to expect. I was glad that there was a nurse right beside me explaining and comforting me the whole time during the test. With very light sedation, I could see and hear what was happening in the room. So they inserted an IV into my arm artery, it's right here, and a contrast dye flowed through this IV. The coloring helps blood vessels show up better in the x-ray images. Then there's a giant monitor on my right side showing my whole body with all the blood vessels exposed. So as soon as the dye enters the blood vessel, you will see it run through my entire body. It's fascinating to watch the screen. But more importantly, it is comforting to hear, it's a big relief to hear that from my cardiologist performing the test that my blood vessels are clean. Thank God there are no blockages. Because if they find some, the cardiologist can open the clogged arteries during the test. It's called angioplasty. I was so worried about this test as I knew I indulge in many greasy and fatty foods like steak, pork, belly, and lamb. And this is the reason why I take Metamucil. Fiber really does wonders on the body. I can prove that now. Then the following day, they sent me down again to do an MRI, which is magnetic resonance imaging. It is a non-invasive test that uses magnets and radio waves to create detailed images of the heart and blood vessels. So they put you inside a massive cylindrical scanner, lying very still on a table that slides into the machine. You hear the doctor instructing you to hold your breath every time they capture the images. It took almost 40 minutes. It's a long test. And I had to bear the discomfort of loud humming and buzzing noise while being trapped in an enclosed machine. So the results showed and confirmed my dilated cardiomyopathy. I'm not surprised anymore. And then the rest of the time of that 7-day hospitalization, I was attached to different heart monitors. And then once or twice a day, there will be some beeps indicating sustained PVCs. That is no good, because nurses and doctors rushed to my room to make sure I was not having a cardiac arrest. But I was thankful that my body was stabilized after 7 days, which allowed me to fly back to Chicago. I am just grateful that all of these tests are all available in the same hospital, in the same building, just different floors, and there was no wait to complete them. Then my cardiologist agreed to discharge me after 7 days, given that I would be wearing a life vest, which is a wearable defibrillator. It will constantly check for irregular heartbeats and instantly try to correct them. So if there is a sudden loss of my heart activity, which means a cardiac arrest, the life vest will activate and start defibrillating my heart. So after 30 pounds of water loss, 36 blood tests, and 5 cardiac tests, my body is stable enough to make the trip back home and continue my heart failure treatment in Chicago.